So it's time for your FPL Gameweek 10 transfer tips from the makeshift Grand FPL studio. We're going to be talking about who we should be bringing in this week, who we should probably be holding, and who we should look to sell. If you like the video, please hit the like button, subscribe if you are new, and let's get straight into the video. So I just want to start off by saying sorry if there is any noise. Like I say, this is being made from the hotel lobby while I am on holiday, but I still wanted to get these videos out for you and give you some transfer tips for the game week ahead. Starting off then in the forward position, Igor Thiago is one of my favourite strikers to be bringing in this week. Simply because I talked about this in the last video, it's sort of the shift. We haven't got many strikers to choose from, and the strikers aren't really returning at the rates we would expect them to, maybe of previous seasons. So it seems sensible to start to take money out of that striker position and put it into something where, like the midfield, or upgrades into your defence to those Arsenal defenders. And I feel like Igor Thiago is a good sort of balance for that. He's not too cheap where you've got minutes risks or anything. He's a guaranteed starter. And his returns are pretty exceptional this season with 6 goals already. So it's 6.2 million with a healthy fixture run coming up as well, with Crystal Palace away, Newcastle at home, Brighton away, and Burnley at home. Don't forget about the Arsenal one for now. But it's a good 4 great fixtures. And like I say, even with that Arsenal one, you don't mind if he's your third striker, you don't mind benching him, and you can play those 5 midfielders, those 4 defenders maybe for that game week. But going forward, on penalties as well, a great option. Speaking of on penalties, you've got Jean-Philippe Mateta as well. He was in this video last week. I said he was fine to jump on early, especially if you planning on benching him for the Arsenal game. That game's out the way, and now Crystal Palace themselves have a great fixture run with 3 of their next 4 games all at home. He is a bit more of the premium option, so if you're looking at getting rid of one of your £7 to £8 million strikers, Jean-Philippe Mateta seems like a good player to jump to, of a similar price tag, but very good quality going forward. Fantastic XG per 90, but that's healthily inflated from the game actually against Brentford, wasn't it? It was Bournemouth, sorry. It was Bournemouth. It was the Bournemouth game with that exceptional XG there. So you've got to take that into account. The XG is boosted from that. But going forward, there's just not many strike options to choose from, like I'm saying, and I think Jean-Philippe Mateta, with that fixture run, with him sort of finding his feet, he had a slow start in the league, but now he's sort of banging in the goals, hopefully finding a bit of form in an area where form is hard to come by. Next up then, midfielders. I talked about this in the previous video also. Brian Mbeumo is up there for me. Now it's a 9-point and then a 15-point haul from Brian Mbeumo in the last 2 games. His XG per 90 and XA is on the rise, and he's up there almost in Bukayo Saka numbers. And with the fixture run again, we've always got to look at these fixtures that Manchester United have. Brian Mbeumo is a fantastic option to be bringing in. Obviously, you've got to have that money. 8.2 million isn't the cheapest, but like I say, if we're taking some money out of striker positions, we could easily be putting this into somebody like Brian Mbeumo quite easily. He's looking like he's finding his feet and finding that form that he had at Brentford. And that's exactly, I think, what we need going forward. Next up, we've got Ismail Assar. Pretty much for the same reasons that I mentioned Jean-Philippe Mateta. Some really good fixtures and some home fixtures coming up for Crystal Palace. And yes, he's not on penalties, but he does put up a really good XG per 90, which has hovered around that 0.48 mark for most of the season as well. And at only 6.5 million, I feel like he is a really good option for those games coming up. Right, Gabriel in defence. Where else would you go than an Arsenal defender at the moment? We've got Jurrien Timber, who I like as well. I've got no objections if you wanted to go for him, but just for that 0.4 more, which I believe he is now, I would just go for Gabriel. He's picking up even assists and goals in the last few games on top of DEFCON points, which Jurrien Timber doesn't really have the DEFCON potential that Gabriel has. So for me, Gabriel ahead of Timber. We probably mention these guys every week, but if you haven't already, double up on that Arsenal defence. It's not too late. I don't know if it ever will be too late either. Finally, I've gone Crystal Palace again. Daniel Munoz. Clean sheets are not necessarily what I am, even with those fixtures for Crystal Palace. Those clean sheets aren't necessarily what I'm expecting, but you've got that attacking threat with Daniel Munoz, and if you can chip him with those clean sheets as well, that would be, a great bonus. He does come at that premium price, 5.6, but I do think he could be well worth that money with that fixture run coming up. So not too many defender transfers I'd want to be making this week, but if you were, those are the two I would be bringing in. So let's move on to those players to hold then. And Nick Voltemade, I'm starting off with, a player that I brought in my team last week. And I had to put him here because it was sort of difficult to take when you haven't got much of your or any of your attackers returning. You do look to those players that you've just brought in. He's on a fantastic run of 4 and 5, but now that is 4 and 6 after a blank this week. So it is frustrating. But the way this season's gone, these strikers are going to blank. I think it's a case that we just have to stick with it, roll with the punches, and get those returns while we can. And that being said, West Ham away should be the perfect fixture for Nick Voltemade to get back on the score sheet. Next up, actually, I've got a bit more of a controversial one, but Hugo Ekitike. Now, Liverpool have not been great, have they, the last 4 games? We all know that, it's well documented. But with that potential Isak injury, it's only going to boost Ekitike's minutes going forward, certainly for the near future. So obviously, he's not somebody I'd consider to buy, but if you have him, I wouldn't mind him as a hold. You've got the Aston Villa fixture, you've got Man City away, which will be difficult, but then you've got 3 fantastic fixtures after that. The thing is with Ekitike, he's the one Liverpool forward that's looked good whenever he's been given that chance to start. Any minutes he's had for Liverpool, he has looked good, even when he's come off the bench. So going forward, I wouldn't rush to get him out unless you are looking to save the money. I don't completely hate it if you have your heart set on getting rid of Ekitike for Mateta or Igor Thiago to save that money. But Ekitike might not be a bad option, certainly for this week, against an Aston Villa team that have been up and down themselves. So maybe just wait and see. Then the midfield is another case of, like with Nick Voltemade, really. I nearly brought in Enzo. I did hold off because of I just didn't want to bring him in alongside Moises Caicedo as well, because I would have likely brought in Enzo for Reinders. But if you're there with Enzo Fernandez, a frustrating result against Sunderland, where we probably expected them to do a bit better, but Sunderland are playing fantastic this season, overperformed all of our expectations. So they'll look to bounce back against the Tottenham team, who had a good result themselves. But Enzo's numbers are still fantastic, and once you'll be on that Tottenham fixture as well, you've got 2 really nice fixtures at home to Wolves and away to Burnley, and I think you'll be wanting Enzo for them. So hold out with Enzo, maybe have to ride through the Tottenham game, we'll have to see. Chelsea more than capable of winning that and have a great record in that fixture. So it depends which way you want to play it, but certainly a keep. And then the next keep I would say is Bruno Fernandes. A lot of talk about Brian Mbeumo after 2 fantastic returns, but if you're there sat with Bruno Fernandes still, he's still putting up fantastic numbers. He still has potential for DEFCON points, and I'm sure he will still be on those penalties. And you can still take advantage of some healthy fixtures for Manchester United. And with Nottingham Forest away up next, I wouldn't rule out any of these Manchester United attackers getting a return in that game. Brian Mbeumo, Cunha, Fernandes, all of them have a great chance against a struggling Nottingham Forest team. Then I've actually put Mickey van der Ven on this one. Now, you sort of say, of course, you'd be holding the guy who's just sealed 23 points for your and probably saved your FPL game week. But the thing is, Mickey van der Ven was probably, he's not in my team, but he was on my radar for people to sell in the previous game week. And he proved a lot of people wrong if you did decide to sell him. And because of that, he's certainly a hold. He's not a buy, but he would be a hold just for 2 home games against Chelsea and Manchester United, especially at his price point, 4.7. It's just about, unless you're going for a 4 million, it's just about as cheap as it gets for a defender who has clearly some attacking threat. You'll never seem to get DEFCON from Mickey van der Ven, which is somewhat of a shame, but you have somebody there that can score the odd clean sheet. Just keep him in your teams for now. Then Marc Cucurella at Chelsea. He's looking okay. He's probably not getting the assists that we all thought he might have, but it feels like attacking returns for Cucurella are just around the corner. You've got the good Chelsea fixture run. If I was having my time over again, I would probably be picking a Reece James like I've got, or a Trevor Chalobah. But if you're there sat with Marc Cucurella, he's probably not returning in the way that you would have hoped in terms of a £6 million defender would. But going forward, I think those attacking returns are coming. The fixtures are good. And this is Marc Cucurella. He does have a history of getting those attacking returns. So I would stick and hold with Cucurella. So on to the sells for this weekend. João Pedro, right at the top of that list for me. He's probably the player that I'll be considering selling. The issue is, like I stated in my last video, is just his XG per 90 is just dropping at a rate every game. It's now at 0.19 for the season. It's just awful. There's two shots on target, or it was 2 shots in total over the last 5 games. It's not what you expect, especially from a top team like Chelsea's number 9. You need that player more involved in front of goal, and he's just not showing it. Then it might come back to bite us with that Wolves and Burnley fixtures up next, but I think a lot of us have lost patience, and for me it is a time to sell. No other explanation needed really there. You've got a nice jumping off to Igor Thiago, and you can save a little bit of money. I also remain with Richarlison on this list because I think it's important that we get rid of him also because of that minutes risk. You never know if he's going to start the game. Don't get me wrong, I feel there's times when he has started, he's played really well this season, but he can be incredibly flaky as well. And you can watch him and think he's definitely not scoring. You can almost tell when his head's in the game completely. So for me, he's a definite sell. And then moving on to the Manchester City midfielders, I have here Phil Foden. A definite sell for me, especially at a price point of 8.1 million, which you can easily jump to somebody like a Brian Mbeumo, who have much better fixtures than Man City coming up as well. You're also looking at 0.18 XG per 90 and 0.22, which it's not the worst, but as you've seen with a player like Bruno Fernandes, he's at nearly 0.5. Obviously, he does take penalties, which obviously bumps that up. But I think we all thought Phil Foden was going to be involved a lot more, especially when there were signs of life. Was it against Manchester United when Manchester City beat them at the Etihad? signs of life from Phil Foden, and it felt like he was coming back to that form. I think that's when I got him in. A lot of other people brought him into their teams, but he just hasn't repaid that faith at all, and I think it's time to jump off him. Same with Tierney Reinders. I've explained in previous videos, he's not there in the attack, he's not there in the defence. So if he's not there in the defence, he's not really picking up the DEFCON points you want from him. He's not getting the attacking returns that you would want from him. He's sort of in between, and that's why we're seeing his price fluctuate so much. People jump on that bandwagon because he's a Manchester City midfield player at an original price point of 5.5 million, which shot the price up, especially when you return on the opening day. But then he's sort of plateaued, probably to the level he should be at. People get frustrated and they transfer him out. And then players brought him back in, and we're seeing the same. We're all transferring him out. And I think people are too quick to jump on Tierney Reinders to bring him into the team anyway. I think there's better options around that price point. You're better off going for an out-and-out defensive midfielder to aim for those DEFCON points. Maybe somebody like a Caicedo if you wanted. Then finally, in the defensive positions, we've got Virgil van Dijk. My explanation with this one is just a 6 million price point for a team that's not keeping clean sheets at all. Obviously, you bring him in because you've got him in as part of a Liverpool defence, which typically and historically was really good. He is still very good for DEFCON points, there is that, but if Liverpool aren't keeping clean sheets, you're not really capitalising on the full potential of a £6 million defender. There's a little bit of attacking threat, but he's not really showing that in the league this season. He's got his goals in the Champions League, but that's about it. Yeah, at £6 million, you've got a great jumping off point to somebody like Jiri and Timber, for example, or that little bit more, Gabriel. Simple as that. Then obviously Romero, with his injury, it's unknown when he's going to return. The Tottenham defence isn't fantastic anyway. Mickey van der Ven probably broke the mould, and in the last game Tottenham were trending in the wrong direction in terms of clean sheets. So those of you stuck with Romero, you probably doubly gutted that Van der Ven got the haul. He did, while Romero was sat on the sidelines. He was a slightly better option originally because of the DEFCON potential, but if he's injured, you're not going to get any of that. Jump off point for a £5 million, it's difficult. I'd probably look for that little bit more money and then go to somebody like Munoz, like I said earlier. So I really appreciate you sticking around to the end of the video, putting up with any noise that was in the background. I'll be back in the bedroom studio for next week's Game Week 11 build-up. If you did like the video, hit the like button, subscribe if you're new, and help the channel grow. It would be really appreciated. And otherwise, I will see you in the next video, which will be my team selection video, which will likely have one transfer in it. So make sure you join for then. Hit the notification bell so you do not miss it, and I will see you then.